I used to believe families were unbreakable. That no matter how many things went wrong, missed birthdays, slammed doors, unpaid bills, you could always find your way back to each other. I believed love was the glue. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. There were 5 of us under one roof, each quietly drowning in our own separate ways. I was the father. 43. A contractor clinging to the edges of a business barely surviving after the housing market crashed. My wife, Renee, taught high school English until her hours were cut. And then cut again. We had 3 kids. Liam, 17. Quiet, brooding, always buried in his phone. Kelsey, 15. Beautiful, anxious, and no longer attending school in person. And Max, 9 years old. Still sweet. Still innocent. But starting to ask questions no child should have to ask, like why we don't eat out anymore. Or why mom cries in the laundry room when she thinks no one hears. We used to eat dinner together. Now it's takeout on the couch or nothing at all. Conversations became arguments. Arguments faded into silence. And the silence? That's what scared me most. I didn't know how to fix it. Hell, I didn't even know how to talk about it. Then, one Sunday afternoon, Renee dropped a bomb. She'd been offered a job. Full-time. Better pay. Benefits. 2 states away. And she was thinking of taking it, alone. The kids just stared at her. Like she was speaking a language none of us understood. Liam walked out. Kelsey burst into tears. Max, sweet Max, asked if we were getting divorced. I just stood there. Frozen. It's not about leaving you, Renee said, not looking at me. It's about surviving. I should have fought for us. I should have said something. But I didn't. Because part of me wondered if she was right. Maybe we were already too far gone. That night, I found Liam in the garage. Smoking. He didn't even try to hide it. Why are you pretending this family is still a thing? He asked. I didn't have an answer. Over the next few days, the unraveling sped up. Kelsey locked herself in her room. Max stopped talking at dinner altogether. Renee moved into the guest room. I found her resume sitting on the printer. But nothing could have prepared us for what happened next. Max ran away. Left a note, crayon on notebook paper. Said he was going to find Grandma because she loves everyone and doesn't yell. We called the cops. Neighbors joined the search. We found him 6 miles away at a bus stop, holding a juice box, clutching his stuffed bear. Renee broke down in front of the officer. And for the first time in years, I saw real fear in her eyes. Not anger. Not bitterness. Just fear. That night, we tried to sit down together. As a family. Liam refused. Kelsey sat but barely spoke. And then she said something that shattered the floor beneath us. I heard Mom on the phone 2 weeks ago. It wasn't a recruiter. It was a man. She said she had feelings for him. Renee's face went pale. She said nothing. Not denial. Not rage. Just silence. A silence so loud it crushed us. I turned to her, the woman I built a life with, and asked, is there someone else? She opened her mouth, maybe to lie, maybe to explain, but before a word came out, we heard the crash. Liam's bedroom door. Slamming open. Then glass shattering. We ran upstairs. His room was wrecked. Posters torn. A mirror cracked down the middle. But Liam? Gone. We searched the entire house, room by room, basement to attic. Nothing. Renee ran out the front door screaming his name. I bolted toward the park, down the blocks we used to walk when the kids were small, shouting like it would somehow bring him back. But this wasn't a game of hide and seek. This was a 17-year-old who'd just watched his family detonate in front of him. A kid who'd been holding the last splinter of hope and then dropped it. It took 3 hours. Police lights. Flashlights. Neighbors with concerned eyes and sad voices. We finally found him. At the skate park the city shut down years ago. He was sitting on the edge of a busted ramp, hoodie soaked, headphones in. Blood dripped from his knuckles. He punched something. Hard. I didn't ask what. I just sat next to him. Quiet. Still. Let the silence stretch until he pulled out one earbud and said, so, are you two even gonna try? I didn't know what try meant anymore. Marriage? Forgiveness? Pretending? We don't have all the answers, I told him. He gave a hollow laugh, dry, brittle. Yeah. That's what I figured. We drove home without saying another word. When we walked in, Renee had cleaned the kitchen. Made spaghetti. Like that would fix something. Max wouldn't eat. Kelsey stayed in her room. Liam walked straight to his and closed the door. No drama this time. Just quiet resignation. I found Renee in the dining room. I asked if she wanted to talk. She said, not now. I asked if there was someone else. She looked at me and said, not really. That phrase stuck in my throat like a bone. Not really. What the hell does that even mean? That night, I slept in the garage. The air was thick with gasoline and cut grass. but it felt more honest than our bedroom. Around midnight, I picked up the phone and did something I hadn't done in years. I called my brother Nate. We hadn't talked since Mom's funeral. He picked up on the third ring like no time had passed. "You okay?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. Just stared at the oil stain under my car. "We're falling apart," I said finally. "And I don't know how to stop it." Nate was quiet for a second. Then he said something that landed like a punch to the ribs. "Sometimes you gotta break all the way before you figure out what's worth gluing back together." I didn't sleep that night. And the next morning, everything cracked. Again. Kelsey didn't come downstairs. I knocked. Nothing. Renee knocked. Still nothing. I kicked the door open. She was curled on the bed, eyes open, crying so hard she couldn't breathe. "I took too many," she whispered. "But I got scared and threw up most of them." We rushed her to the ER. Sat in that freezing waiting room while doctors and social workers cycled in and out. Hours passed. She was stable, but shattered. They called it a safety plan. They said it was just a cry for help. But it didn't feel like a cry. It felt like a scream no one had heard. When we got home that night, Max was on the couch watching cartoons like it was just another Tuesday. He looked up at me and asked, "Is Kelsey gonna die?" I told him no. I told him we were all going to be okay. But inside, I didn't believe it. Not anymore. Renee collapsed onto the couch, hands over her face. Liam was on the stairs, listening. Just watching. Waiting. And that's when I broke. I stood in the middle of the living room, my voice shaking, and said, "I want us to do therapy. All of us. Together. No more secrets. No more pretending." Renee looked up, her eyes red. Liam muttered, "Too late." And then Max said something that froze the room. Something that changed everything. "Mom already sees a therapist," he said. "I saw her kissing him in the parking lot last week." The room went still. Max's voice echoed in the air, too real to ignore. "I saw her kissing him." Not a whisper. Not a question. Just a fact. Liam stood at the top of the stairs, jaw tight, eyes locked on our mother. "Is that true?" he asked, voice low, dangerous. Renee didn't answer right away. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Then she stood, her voice barely more than breath. "It's not what it looked like." But we all knew what that meant. It meant it was exactly what it looked like. "Then tell us," I said, trying to stay calm. "Tell us what it actually is. Because this house is bleeding out and no one's stopping the hemorrhage." She sat back down, hands shaking. "His name's Aaron. He's someone from work. He helped me through a lot." "Through what?" I snapped. "Loneliness? Or lying to your husband and kids?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The truth was already rotting in the middle of the room. Kelsey, still fragile from her hospital visit, just stared blankly. Max looked like he wanted to disappear. And Liam. Liam turned to leave. Again. I stepped forward, desperate. "You walk out now, Liam, and we all break. For good this time." He paused. Looked me in the eye. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Then he walked out the front door. No shoes. No coat. Just gone. Again. Renee dropped her head into her hands and started crying. But I didn't go to her. Not this time. Because something inside me had gone numb. She kept whispering, "I didn't mean to." But the truth? She did. You don't fall into someone's arms by accident. You don't let your son catch you kissing another man unless you've already burned the map back to your family. That night, I tucked Max into bed. He clung to his stuffed bear and asked me, "Does mommy still love us?" I lied. I told him yes. Because what else can you say to a 9-year-old? That grown-ups get lost? That love rots when you don't take care of it? That sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most? You don't say that to a child. You just hold them. And lie through your teeth. I stayed up waiting for Liam. Midnight passed. Then 1. Then 2. Around 4:30, the back door creaked open. He was soaked to the bone. Shivering. I wrapped him in a blanket. He didn't say a word. Just sat there, staring at the black TV screen. The next morning, I called a therapist. Told them everything. Every ugly, jagged piece of it. They made time for us. Said we could come in together. Emergency intake. Renee didn't want to go. Said it was too soon. I told her she was already out of time. We sat there in that office, all of us broken in our own ways. The therapist asked us to say one thing we wanted most. Kelsey said she wanted to feel safe. Max said he wanted everyone to stop yelling. Liam stayed quiet. Renee said she wanted forgiveness. And me? I said I wanted the truth. The therapist nodded slowly like she already knew what was coming. "Is there anything else you're hiding?" she asked. I expected silence. But then Renee looked at me just for a second and I knew. There was more. "You have to tell them," the therapist said gently. Renee turned to the kids, then back to me, and whispered the words that turned everything to ash. I'm pregnant. I stared at her. The words echoed like a scream inside my skull. I'm pregnant. Kelsey's lip trembled. Max looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. And Liam didn't even say a word. He stood, walked to the door, and this time he didn't slam it. He just left. Quiet. Gone. Renee kept talking, trying to explain, but her voice was muffled like it was coming from underwater. The therapist said something about breathing, grounding techniques, but my chest was caving in. There was only one question that mattered now. Whose is it? She didn't answer. Just dropped her face into her hands like that would make the question disappear. Renee, I said, is it mine? Her voice cracked as she whispered, I don't know. That was it? That was the final crack. Not a cut. Not a break. A collapse. So there's a chance it's not mine? I asked. She nodded. I let out a breath that felt like it had been lodged in my ribs for days. Then I stood, looked her in the eye. You're going to get a paternity test. And if it's not mine, I want you out. Kelsey burst into tears. Max just sat there, completely still, eyes wide like he didn't understand a word but felt every vibration of pain in the room. Renee didn't argue. She didn't plead. She just nodded and said, I'll schedule it. We left that office in silence. Drove home like strangers. That night, I slept in my truck. The air was cold. The leather seats unforgiving. But it was the only place that didn't feel tainted by lies. I scrolled through old photos on my phone. Birthday parties. Beach days. Bedtime stories. I stared at them like they belonged to a different family. Maybe they did. A week passed. Renee scheduled the test. I made her take it twice. I needed to be sure. While we waited for the results, Kelsey spiraled. She stopped eating. Barely spoke. The therapist said recovery isn't linear, but this wasn't a stumble, it was a fall. I found her in the bathroom one night, trying to flush her anxiety meds. So I won't try again, she said flatly. That way you can stop watching me like I'm a bomb. I told her she wasn't a bomb. But the truth? We all were. Even Max had changed. He started wetting the bed again. Drew pictures of our family with certain faces scribbled out. And Liam, he came home late every night, smelling like weed and regret. When I asked where he'd been, he just shrugged. Better than feeling anything. Renee was a ghost in her own house. Spoke only when spoken to. Slept in the guest room. Ate almost nothing. Then the email came. DNA results, not a match. I stared at the screen, barely breathing. Not mine. It was over. I walked into the kitchen. Printed the result. Handed it to her. She read it. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just said, I'll pack my things. Good, I told her. But you're not taking the kids. Her eyes snapped up. What? You don't get to break them and then take the pieces with you. They're mine too. Not this one, I said, tapping the paper. And maybe not the others. She froze. What do you mean? I looked her dead in the eyes. I tested all three. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. You tested the kids? Her voice was shaking. Without telling me? I didn't blink. You didn't tell me you were sleeping with someone else. She took a shaky breath. Her hands curled into fists like she was trying to keep herself from falling apart. You had no right. I had every right, I said, my voice low and steady. You broke this family. You set it on fire. And now you want privacy. She turned away, face in her hands. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Do you want to know the results? She didn't answer. So I told her. Liam is mine. Kelsey is mine. Max, I paused, the words catching like thorns in my throat. Max isn't. Her body sagged into the chair like the air had been knocked out of her. Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't deny it. Didn't even ask how I found out. She just broke. Silent sobs shook her shoulders. And for the first time, I didn't feel sorry. I felt angry. Because Max was my son. He may not have come from my blood, but he came from my life. And he had no idea that the truth could burn like this. Does he know? I asked. She shook her head violently. No. God, no. I nodded slowly. Good. Because he's not going to hear it from me. She looked confused. What does that mean? It means he's mine, no matter what the paperwork says. But you. I leaned forward. You're leaving. Tonight. And go where? She whispered. To Aaron? I asked. Or whoever's next in your support network? She tried to speak, but I held up a hand. I don't care. You don't get to decide when to be a mother. Not anymore. I didn't wait for her to argue. I left her there. Walked straight into the garage. Liam was sitting on the floor, legs crossed, tightening bolts on an old bike he'd been trying to fix for months. He didn't even look up. Did she lie again? He asked. Worse, I said. She's leaving. He nodded once. Good. I found Kelsey outside wrapped in a blanket, staring at the sky like she was hoping for an answer. I sat beside her and said, "You're not alone. We're going to get through this. Even if it takes a long time." She didn't say anything, but she leaned into me. That was enough. That night I sat Max down. I didn't tell him the truth. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I just told him Mommy had to go away for a while and that none of it was his fault. "Are we still a family?" he asked. I looked at him. Really looked. "Yes," I said. "We are. And I'll tear the world apart to keep it that way." Renee packed quietly. No fight. No drama. She said goodbye to the kids. Kelsey barely acknowledged her. Liam didn't come downstairs. Max gave her a hug. Then she was gone. Just like that. The next morning I got a call from the therapist. She asked how everyone was doing. "We're a mess," I said. "But we're still here." A week passed. Then another. Kelsey started therapy again. Liam showed up for dinner. Max smiled more. Just a little. Then, one afternoon, I got a text. No name. Just words. "You should know there's more you don't see." I stared at it for a long time. Thought about deleting it. Until a second message came through. "Ask Liam where he really goes after school." I stared at the phone. That second message felt like a match pressed to the edge of everything we just started to rebuild. Ask Liam where he really goes after school. I didn't say anything that night. Just watched him. Watched the way he avoided eye contact. The way his voice tightened when he said library. I didn't challenge him. I nodded. Said cool. Maybe we could go sometime together. And that was it. But the way he froze just for a second told me everything I needed to know. That night, after the kids were asleep, I went into the garage. Liam's bike was there. But the tires were warm. Still soft from the road. I grabbed the old family tablet. The one everyone had stopped using. Opened the map's history. It showed a pin. An address I didn't recognize. An hour away. I didn't sleep. Just stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. The next day, I followed him. Told Max we were going grocery shopping. Dropped him off with Kelsey. Then got in the car and drove 3 vehicles behind, slow enough not to be seen. Liam didn't go to the library. He didn't go to a friend's house. He went to an old, weather-worn farmhouse surrounded by leafless trees. Paint peeling. Porch sagging. I parked half a block down. Watched. He knocked. A man answered. Mid-40s. Shaggy beard. Face like he'd been carved from years of bad luck. They didn't talk long. They hugged. And something inside me broke in a way I didn't even know was possible. I waited until Liam left. Then I walked up the drive. Knocked. The man answered again. Confused. Until he really looked at me. His face changed. Like he was seeing a ghost. "You're his dad," he said. I didn't respond. "Who are you?" I asked. He stepped outside. Closed the door gently behind him. He paused. "I was Renee's first." I didn't breathe. "We were together before she married you. She told me Liam was mine. Then she changed her mind. Said you were better for him. Stable. Safe." My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear his next words. She never told him. Not until recently. I just stood there. Numb. "I'm not trying to take him," he added quickly. "I just want to know him." I missed everything. I nodded. "So did I whispered. Then I turned around. Got in the car. Drove home in silence. Liam was already there. Sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his phone. "You followed me," he said. I nodded. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked. "Because I didn't want to lose you too." I walked over. Sat across from him. "You won't," I said. "You're mine. Always. No matter what blood says." He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time in weeks, I saw something behind his eyes that wasn't anger. It was grief. And love. And fear. All at once. He started to cry. So did I. That night, we all sat down. No yelling. No lies. No phones. Just truth. Liam told his story. Kelsey shared hers. Max said he was scared, but he still loved all of us. And I told them the one thing they needed to hear the most. We're going to be okay. Not perfect. But okay. Renee didn't call. I didn't reach out. I filed for full custody. She didn't fight it. And after a while, we started to heal. Kelsey went back to therapy. Max stopped wetting the bed. Liam came home on time. And sometimes, the man from the farmhouse joined us for dinner. Not as a replacement. Not as a threat. Just as a quiet, broken part of the truth. And we let him be that. Because pretending doesn't fix anything. But telling the truth, living with it, that's where healing starts. We're still not whole. Some days we're barely functional. But we're real, raw. And for the first time in a long time, honest. Some families are built on love. Others are built on fire. Ours? We're still figuring that out. But a few months later, Max asked me, "Are we okay now?" I didn't lie. I said, "We're getting there." And for the first time, I believed it.